Evelyn Reed's voice faded to a whisper. On the business trip, we slept together. I've decided to keep the baby. Logan Hayes' expression was unreadable, a mask of calm. And Evelyn looked up, a selfish light glinting in her eyes. Let's just go ahead with the wedding. You love me so much. I know you'll accept the baby. I'll distance myself from Caleb after we're married. The child is innocent, after all. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of the penthouse living room. Logan Hayes stood before the full-length mirror, adjusting his tie. His long, steady fingers expertly formed a perfect Windsor knot. He was on his way to the quarterly product launch for Reed Innovations. As the silent partner who had bankrolled the company, he was accustomed to staying in the shadows, letting the spotlight shine on his fiancée, Evelyn Reed. His phone buzzed on the nightstand. It was a text from Evelyn. Logan, after the launch, Caleb and I are heading to Austin to scout a new project. We'll be gone for about 2 months. Logan's brow furrowed slightly. Caleb Vance was Evelyn's executive assistant, a wunderkind who had appeared out of nowhere 6 months ago, supposedly a protege from her university days. Logan vaguely recalled Evelyn mentioning him once as her college flame, but that was ancient history. Do you need me to come with you? He typed back. No, don't be silly. It's just technical integration stuff. It would be a waste of your talent, she replied instantly, adding a kissing face emoji. Logan put the phone down, his gaze falling on a framed photo on the nightstand. In it, Evelyn was nestled in his arms, her smile radiant. They had been together for 5 years, engaged for 1, and the wedding was just 3 months away. Everyone called them the perfect couple, a match made in heaven. Mr. Hayes, the car is here, his housekeeper announced from the doorway. The launch was a resounding success. On stage, Evelyn was luminous, eloquently detailing the company's newly developed AI system. Logan stood in the back row, watching her with a gentle expression. When Evelyn introduced Caleb Vance as the project lead, Logan noticed the scorching intensity in the younger man's eyes as he looked at her. After the presentation, Evelyn rushed over. Logan, Caleb, and I have a flight to catch. We have to go. She gave him a quick peck on the cheek. I'm leaving the wedding planning in your capable hands. Logan nodded. Be safe. Watching Evelyn and Caleb walk away side by side, a strange feeling flickered in Logan's gut. He quickly shook it off. He trusted Evelyn as much as he trusted his own judgment. The 2 months passed quickly. Logan managed his own portfolio while overseeing the wedding preparations. He personally selected the champagne-colored roses he knew Evelyn loved for the floral arrangements, commissioned a 7-figure diamond ring, and even bought her parents a vacation villa in the Florida Keys. But Evelyn's calls and texts became less frequent. At first, they had video chatted daily. Then, it dwindled to simple text messages. In the last few days, there had been complete silence. Logan had tried calling a few times, but Caleb always answered, claiming Evelyn was in a meeting. Finally, on the night before she was due back, Evelyn sent a video call request. On the screen, her face was flushed and her hair was damp, as if she'd just stepped out of the shower. Logan, I'm coming home tomorrow, she said, her voice sounding distant. There's something I need to talk to you about in person. Logan's eyes narrowed. He noticed the bathroom door behind her was ajar, and for a split second, he could see the silhouette of a man. Fine, I'll pick you up from the airport, he said calmly. Don't. Her reaction was sharp, her voice too loud. Caleb will drive me home. She paused. Logan, no matter what happens, you'll always love me, right? The question was jarring. Of course. What's wrong? Nothing. I'll see you tomorrow, she said, ending the call abruptly. The next afternoon, when Evelyn arrived home, Logan was in his study reviewing financial reports. He heard the front door open, but didn't get up to greet her as he usually would. Some instinct told him to wait. Evelyn pushed open the study door without knocking. She wore a loose-fitting sundress, her face pale but set with a strange, unnerving resolve. Logan, I'm pregnant, she said point-blank. The Mont-Blanc pen in Logan's hand paused, bleeding a small pool of ink onto the document. He slowly looked up. Congratulations. Is it ours? Evelyn bit her lip. It's Caleb's. The air in the room turned to ice. Logan set down his pen, lacing his fingers together on the desk. The posture made him look like a judge about to deliver a verdict. We slept together. On the business trip, Evelyn's voice grew softer. I know this is sudden, but I've made my decision. I'm keeping the baby. Logan's expression remained a flat, emotionless mask. And then what? I thought, we could go ahead with the wedding, she said, her head snapping up. Her eyes shone with a selfish gleam Logan had never seen before. You love me so much. I know you'll accept the baby, right? I'll keep my distance from Caleb after we're married, but the baby is innocent. Logan stood up and walked slowly toward her. He was a good head taller, and his imposing presence made Evelyn instinctively take a step back. So, you're saying, his voice was terrifyingly soft, that you want me to marry you and raise another man's child? Not raise, she said desperately. You could be the father, legally speaking. Crack. The sharp sound of slap cut through her rationalization. Evelyn clutched her cheek, staring at Logan in disbelief. This man had never once raised his voice to her. Pack your things and get out. Now, Logan's voice was as cold as a tomb. The engagement is off. Panic finally set in. Logan, let me explain. Explain what? How you slept with your old flame. How you plan to make me the biggest fool in New York. Logan scoffed. Evelyn, you disgust me. He pulled out his phone and dialed a number. Mr. Klein, I want you to terminate all investment agreements with Reed Innovations. Yes, effective immediately. Evelyn's face went white. You can't do that. The company will go bankrupt. That's your problem. Logan pulled the study door open. You have 1 hour to pack. After that, I'm calling security. Evelyn ran from the room, sobbing. Logan stood at the window, watching the woman he had loved for 5 years, who now seemed like a complete stranger. He dialed another number. Carlos, I need a team here tomorrow morning to change all the locks. And I want the master bedroom completely gutted and remodeled. Yes, tear everything out. An hour later, Evelyn stood at the front door with her suitcase, her eyes swollen and red. Logan, please, just think about this. Logan tossed a ring at her feet, their engagement ring. Get out. After she left, Logan sat alone in the vast, empty living room. Moonlight spilled through the windows, illuminating his expressionless face. He opened his laptop and pulled up a file, a complete record of Evelyn and Caleb's hotel stays in Austin, along with photos from a private investigator. They had been sharing a room since the 3rd day of their trip. 2 months, Logan whispered to himself. Long enough for a person's true colors to show. He closed the laptop and picked up his phone, sending one last text. Mr. Davis, you can now begin the investigation into the core technology leak at Reed Innovations. Evelyn stood in front of her family's mansion, her finger hovering over the doorbell, unable to press it. She never imagined she would be thrown out of the home she shared with Logan. The man who had always catered to her every whim had actually hit her and told her to get out. This can't be real. He'll regret this, Evelyn muttered, finally pressing the bell. The door opened to reveal an unfamiliar middle-aged woman. Can I help you? The woman asked, eyeing Evelyn with suspicion. I'm a lady of this house. Evelyn's voice turned shrill. Where's Logan? Oh, so you're the one. The woman's face twisted into a sneer. Mr. Hayes said if you came back for your things, they've all been packed and sent to a storage unit. Evelyn pushed past the woman and stormed inside. The sight before her felt like a lightning strike. All of her photos in the living room were gone. The master bedroom was being renovated, with workers actively dismantling the imported Italian furniture she had so carefully chosen. Stop! Who told you to touch my things? Evelyn screamed hysterically. The workers ignored her. A man who looked like the foreman approached. Ma'am, Mr. Hayes ordered a complete renovation. Your belongings are at the storage facility. Please don't interfere with our work. Shaking, Evelyn pulled out her phone to call Logan, only to be met with a cold, automated voice. The number you have dialed is not in service. He had blocked her. Inside the Reed family mansion, Evelyn's mother, Victoria, slammed her teacup down, shattering it after hearing her daughter's tearful story. That ungrateful bastard, Logan Hayes, my daughter gives him 5 years of her life, and this is how he repays her. He just throws her out? Victoria's carefully maintained face contorted with rage. Come on, we're going to get you an explanation. 2. The resounding slap. Logan Hayes, get out here. The shrill voice pierced the quiet of the executive suite. Logan looked up from his desk, watching through the glass wall as Evelyn and her mother, Victoria, shoved past his terrified secretary. Their heels clicked aggressively on the marble floor. He pressed the intercom button on his desk phone. "Sarah, let them in, and have security on standby." The office door flew open, slamming against the wall with a loud bang. Evelyn stood in the doorway, her carefully applied makeup streaked with tears, her eyes puffy. Her mother, Victoria Reed, was red-faced with fury, her expensive Chanel suit stretched tightly over her plump frame, making her resemble an angry penguin. "Logan," Evelyn's voice cracked with a sob. "How could you do this to me?" Logan leaned back in his leather chair, steepling his fingers. He looked on with the cool detachment of someone watching a poorly acted play. "Ms. Reed, I believe I made myself perfectly clear yesterday." "Logan Hayes." Victoria surged forward, her stubby finger nearly poking him in the eye. "What is this attitude? My daughter was with you for 5 years. Now she's pregnant, and you're just going to abandon her. Are you even human?" A crowd of curious employees had already gathered outside the office, their whispers buzzing in the hall. A cold smirk touched Logan's lips. He picked up the intercom again. "Mark, get a few of your guys and escort everyone on the 28th floor to the main conference room. I'm calling a brief meeting." Evelyn froze. "Logan, what are you doing?" Logan rose to his full 6'2" height, casting an imposing shadow. He walked around the desk to stand before Evelyn, his voice low but carrying clearly throughout the office. "Since you and your mother enjoy making a scene, I'll let the entire company see what kind of people the Reeds truly are." 5 minutes later, the main conference room was packed with employees of Hayes Capital. Evelyn stood at the front, wilting under hundreds of curious stares, her fingers twisting the hem of her dress. Victoria, however, held her chin high, still on the warpath. Logan stepped up to the podium, his gaze sweeping across the room before settling on Evelyn. "Everyone, I'm sure you all recognize Ms. Reed. In 3 months, she was supposed to become my wife." The room was dead silent. However, Logan's voice turned to ice. "Yesterday, she informed me that she is pregnant with the child of her assistant, Caleb Vance." A collective gasp went through the crowd. The color drained from Evelyn's face. Her lips trembled, but no words came out. Victoria shrieked, "Logan Hayes, you're lying." Unfazed, Logan picked up a remote and clicked a button. The large projector screen lit up with a photo of Evelyn and Caleb kissing in the hallway of a hotel in Austin. The date stamp clearly showed it was taken on the 3rd day of their business trip. "This was taken by a private investigator," Logan said, clicking again. More photos appeared. The two of them at a candlelit dinner, walking hand-in-hand downtown, and finally, entering the same hotel room together. Ms. Reed and her assistant were essentially inseparable during their 2 months in Austin. Evelyn's knees went weak. She could barely stand. She never imagined Logan would have proof, much less display it for the world to see. "What does this prove?" Victoria blustered. "They're young. It was a moment of weakness. My daughter gave you 5 years. Can't you forgive one mistake?" Logan let out a cold laugh. "Mrs. Reed, your daughter didn't come here to apologize. She came to inform me that she was keeping the baby and that I was still expected to marry her." He paused, perfectly mimicking Evelyn's tone. "You love me so much, I know you'll accept the baby." The conference room erupted in a storm of whispers. The looks directed at Evelyn were now dripping with contempt. "You're lying." Evelyn suddenly screamed, lunging at Logan. "I never said that. Logan, I love you. I only love you. The baby. I can get rid of the baby." Logan sidestepped her easily, his eyes as cold as daggers. "Is that so? Then I suppose you didn't know that I had a vasectomy 2 years ago." The statement hit Evelyn like a physical blow. Her eyes widened, and every trace of color vanished from her face. What did you say?" I said. Logan enunciated each word with brutal precision. "I can't have children. So, from the moment you told me you were pregnant, I knew that child could never be mine." A stunned silence fell over the room. Evelyn swayed on her feet, as if her bones had dissolved. Victoria suddenly flew into a rage, pointing a trembling finger at him. "You monster! You set my daughter up!" Logan's eyes flashed. He slammed his hand on the podium. "Enough!" He strode toward Evelyn and, in front of everyone, raised his hand and struck her across the face. Crack! The sharp, clean sound echoed through the room. Evelyn's head snapped to the side, a red welt instantly appearing on her left cheek. Her perfect hair fell into disarray. That one, Logan said, his voice like the Arctic wind, was for your shamelessness. Evelyn clutched her face, hot tears streaming down her cheeks. Logan. Crack. The second slap was even harder, sending her stumbling to the floor. A trickle of blood appeared at the corner of her mouth. And that one was for your greed, Logan said, looking down at her crumpled form. You wanted my money and my status, but you also wanted to relive your glory days with an old flame. Victoria screamed and lunged at him. How dare you hit my daughter? I'll kill you. Logan effortlessly caught her wrists. He barked at the security guards by the door. Get these two out of my building, and from this day forward they are banned from setting foot in any Hayes Capital property. For guards moved in, roughly seizing Victoria and a sobbing Evelyn. Logan, please, Evelyn cried. Without your investment, my company will go bankrupt. Logan calmly adjusted his cuffs. Oh, I forgot to tell you. I've already filed a petition with the court to freeze all of Reed Innovations' assets. As the primary investor, I have a right to protect my interests, after all. The words struck Evelyn like a bolt of lightning. She went completely limp and was dragged out of the conference room like a sack of garbage. The atmosphere in the Reed Innovations conference room was suffocating. Evelyn sat at the head of the table, an ice pack pressed to her swollen cheek. The financial report spread before her looked like a death certificate. Ms. Reed, the bank has rejected our loan application, the CFO said, his voice hoarse. With Hayes Capital pulling out, our cash flow will only last another 10 days max. The head of R&D spoke next. 7 members of the core development team have already submitted their resignations, including the entire AI algorithm group. Evelyn's nails dug into her palms. In just 3 days, her empire was on the verge of collapse. And it all started with her monumentally stupid decision. She had actually believed Logan's love for her was unconditional. Where is Caleb Vance? She asked suddenly, her voice raspy. An awkward silence fell over the room. Finally, the marketing manager mumbled, Mr. Vance has been unreachable since yesterday. A sharp pain lanced through Evelyn's chest. The moment their affair was publicly exposed, Caleb had vanished. The meeting ended without any solutions. Evelyn returned to her office, locked the door, and finally broke down, her body shaking with violent sobs. With a trembling hand, she dialed Caleb's number. It rang for a long time before he finally answered. Caleb, where are you? She choked out. I need you. Is there something you need, Ms. Reed? Caleb's voice was impatient and cold. Evelyn felt like she'd been plunged into ice water. You call me Ms. Reed? What else would I call you? He scoffed. You didn't actually think I would marry a woman Logan Hayes has had his fill of, did you? The line went dead. Evelyn stared at her phone in stunned silence before it slipped from her grasp and clattered to the floor. She realized, with dawning horror, that she had been played. Caleb's seduction, their affair, it was all a setup to get his hands on her company's technology. Logan stood on the terrace of a private club, overlooking the glittering city skyline. Behind him, the private investigator gave his report. Mr. Hayes, it's confirmed. Caleb Vance was working for SpectraCorp. They sent him to get close to Ms. Reed to steal the AI algorithm from Reed Innovations. They promised him a vice president position if he succeeded. Logan swirled the burgundy liquid in his glass. Do you have the evidence? More than enough. Photos of Vance meeting with SpectraCorp executives and surveillance footage of him copying company files to an external drive. Good, Logan said, taking a sip of wine. Hold on to it for now. Wait until Reed Innovations officially files for bankruptcy, then give it to the police. After the investigator left, Logan's phone rang. It was an unknown number, but he knew who it was. Logan. Evelyn's broken voice came through the speaker. I was wrong. I was so wrong. Please, just give me one more chance. Logan listened in silence. The company is finished. Caleb, he used me. She wept. I only ever loved you. The baby. I can get rid of it. Evelyn. Logan finally spoke, his voice as unforgiving as a winter storm. Did you know I had a vasectomy 2 years ago? Dead silence on the other end. So, from the moment you told me you were pregnant, I knew it wasn't mine, he continued. But I gave you a chance. I waited for you to tell me the truth. Instead, you chose the most shameless path imaginable. Logan, don't call me again. Logan cut her off. Next time, you'll be hearing from my lawyer. He ended the call and tossed the phone onto a sofa. Walking over to his desk, he opened his laptop to a document titled Proposal for the Downtown Animal Rescue and Shelter. Under the proposed location, the address of the penthouse he was supposed to share with Evelyn was clearly written. Some people treat love like a pet, he murmured to himself. They think they can keep more than one at a time. But real love can't tolerate a single stray hair from someone else. Outside, lightning tore across the night sky, and the heavens opened up in a torrential downpour. Just like Evelyn Reed's life, which was now being consumed by a devastating storm. Evelyn knelt on the cold marble floor of the living room while her mother, Victoria, stood over her. "You pathetic fool," Victoria screamed, her face contorted in rage. "Decades of work, the legacy your father built, all destroyed because of you." Evelyn bit her lip to keep from crying out. Since Logan had publicly shamed her and pulled his funding, Reed Innovations had crumbled. Creditors were calling, employees were leaving in droves, and partners had canceled their contracts. The official bankruptcy notice lay on the coffee table like a death sentence. "Mom, I'm sorry," Evelyn whispered. "Sorry? You think sorry fixes this?" Victoria grabbed her daughter by the hair, forcing her to look up. "I don't care what you have to do. You will save this family. Go find Caleb Vance." Evelyn flinched. He won't even speak to me." "Then make him." Victoria shoved her away. "You're carrying his child, aren't you?" Evelyn unconsciously cradled her small baby bump. The thing she thought was leverage over Logan had now become her only lifeline. "Spectra Corp is willing to make an investment," Victoria said suddenly, "on the condition that Caleb is appointed CEO and that you two get married." Evelyn's head shot up. "What? Don't play innocent with me." Victoria sneered. "After being publicly humiliated by Logan Hayes, who else is going to want damaged goods like you?" The words were a knife in Evelyn's heart. She thought of the 2 slaps Logan had given her in front of his entire company, and her cheek burned with phantom pain. "Spectra Corp headquarters, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning," Victoria said, turning to go upstairs. "Either you marry him, or you can watch the bank foreclose on this house. The choice is yours." Standing outside City Hall, Evelyn stared at the marriage certificate in her hand. In the photo, her smile was forced, while Caleb Vance looked utterly indifferent. "Happy now," Caleb said, loosening his tie. "My mother expects you to move in tonight." Evelyn clenched her fists. "Caleb, can we just talk?" "Talk about what?" He sneered. "About the 5 years you spent in Logan Hayes' bed? Or about how he slapped you around in front of his whole company?" Evelyn's face turned ashen. Ever since he had shown his true colors on that phone call, Caleb hadn't even bothered with a pretense of kindness. "Listen to me." He leaned in close, his voice a malicious whisper. "If Spectra Corp wasn't interested in the last few patents Reed Innovations holds, did you really think I would marry used goods?" Evelyn trembled with rage, but said nothing. She had nothing left. Her company was gone, her family was disgraced, and even the child in her womb was now a tool to be used against her. Caleb's mother, Sharon, emerged from the building, her critical eyes scanning Evelyn's stomach. Only 3 months along and already showing that much. Probably a girl. "Mom," Caleb said impatiently. "Let's go. I have a meeting." Sharon grunted and shoved a folder into Evelyn's hands. "The prenup. Sign it." Evelyn opened it. The terms were outrageously cruel. All marital assets would belong solely to Caleb. If she gave birth to a boy, she would receive a small living stipend. But if it was a girl, she would get nothing. In the event of a divorce, she would automatically surrender all custody rights. "This is—" Evelyn's fingers trembled. "Sign it or get lost," Sharon said coldly. "My son has plenty of other options." Evelyn glanced at her own mother, who stood watching from a distance, her expression like stone. Biting her lip, Evelyn signed her name. She finally understood. From the moment she betrayed Logan, she had forfeited the right to make her own choices. The Vance apartment was much smaller than Evelyn had imagined. It was an old, 3-bedroom unit with dated furniture and the bitter smell of herbal remedies hanging in the air. "Your things go in the small bedroom," Sharon said. pointing to a room barely large enough for a twin bed. The master bedroom is for me and Caleb. Evelyn stared. Caleb and I aren't sharing a room? Sharon scoffed. Do you think you deserve to? A pregnant woman trying to seduce a man. She tossed a set of old pajamas at Evelyn. Change into these, then come help in the kitchen. Numbly, Evelyn changed and went into the cramped kitchen. Sharon was brewing a dark, pungent concoction on the stove. Drink this, Sharon said, handing her a bowl. It's a secret recipe for having a boy. Evelyn looked at the murky liquid with floating, unidentifiable bits and felt her stomach churn. I don't feel well. Crack! A sharp slap landed on her cheek. It was lighter than Logan's, but infinitely more humiliating. Did you think you were still the princess of the Reed family? Sharon snarled, grabbing her hair. You are nothing but a vessel for the Vance family now. Either you drink it, or you get out. Shaking, Evelyn took the bowl and forced the bitter medicine down. The burning sensation as it slid down her throat reminded her of the last look Logan had ever given her, cold, disgusted, and utterly devoid of love. That night, Evelyn curled up on the small, lumpy bed, listening to Caleb and his mother laughing in the next room. Tears soaked her pillow. Her phone vibrated. It was a text from an unknown number. She opened it and felt the blood drain from her face. It was a photo of Caleb shaking hands with a middle-aged man in front of the Spectre Corp logo. The date stamp was from before their business trip to Austin. A second text followed. Caleb Vance is a corporate spy sent by Spectre Corp to steal your technology. His seduction was part of the plan. A sympathizer. Evelyn bit down hard on her lip to keep from screaming. She hadn't just been abandoned by Logan. She had been systematically destroyed by Caleb. Her college flame had been nothing but a meticulously planned illusion. A month later, Evelyn stood outside a conference room at Spectre Corp, watching Caleb through the glass wall. Dressed in a sharp suit, he was confidently presenting the integration plan for Reed Innovations technology to the board of directors. The patents that had once belonged to her father, then to her, were now Caleb's ticket to the top. What are you doing just standing there? Sharon's voice barked from behind, making Evelyn jump. Go home and brew the medicine. Life at the Vance home was worse than being a servant. Every day was a cycle of brewing, foul-smelling, boy-making teas, cleaning the entire apartment, and enduring Sharon's endless insults. Caleb was rarely home, and when he was usually drunk and would just sneer at her before passing out. Mom, I need to go to the hospital for a checkup, Evelyn asked timidly one day. Sharon frowned. Again, didn't you just go last week? The doctor said, I need a follow-up this week. Useless girls are always so much trouble, Sharon grumbled, but she tossed $200 bills at her. Take the bus. Don't waste money on an Uber. The obstetrics clinic was crowded. While waiting, Evelyn saw a familiar figure emerge from the VIP maternity wing, Caleb. He was with a pretty young nurse, and they were far too close to be just friends. Evelyn quickly ducked behind a pillar. She watched as Caleb wrapped his arm around the nurse's waist, kissed her on the cheek, and slipped an envelope into her hand. The nurse giggled and tucked it away. They whispered for a few more moments before parting. After her own appointment, the doctor told Evelyn the fetus was healthy and that it was a girl. A stone dropped in Evelyn's stomach. She knew this news would send Sharon into a fury. She dragged her heavy feet out of the hospital. The sky was overcast, a perfect mirror of her hopeless future. As she passed a trash can near the bus stop, she saw a familiar envelope sticking out, identical to the one Caleb had given the nurse. On a strange impulse, she reached in and pulled it out. Inside was a sonogram. It clearly showed an 18-week-old male fetus. The mother's name was listed as Tiffany Morgan, and the father's name, in stark black letters, was Caleb Vance. The world tilted, and Evelyn nearly fainted. While she was being forced to drink bitter herbs, Caleb already had another woman carrying his son. Her hands shaking, she took a picture of the sonogram with her phone, but she had no one to send it to. No one who would care. Rain began to fall, soaking through her thin clothes. She stood there, realizing this was the price of her betrayal, the loss of her dignity, her freedom, her entire world. It all started because she had been greedy enough to think she could have Logan's devotion and Caleb's passion at the same time. On a massive LED screen across the street, A business news channel was playing. Logan Hayes, impeccably dressed, was being interviewed, announcing a new strategic partnership between Hayes Capital and a global tech giant. He looked even more handsome and composed than she remembered, as if their 5 years together had never happened. Evelyn sank to the sidewalk in the rain, hugging her pregnant belly and sobbing with an agony that tore through her soul. She wished she could turn back time, back to a day before she had ruined everything. But it was too late. Just as Logan had said, some mistakes could never be undone. 4. Bloody revenge. Push harder. In the delivery room, Evelyn was drenched in sweat, her knuckles white as she gripped the bedsheets. Her throat was raw from screaming. After 18 hours of labor, she was utterly exhausted. Through her blurred vision, the figures of doctors and nurses swam around her as machines beeped frantically. Fetal heart rate is dropping. Prep for an emergency C-section, the doctor shouted. Terrified, Evelyn grabbed a nurse's arm. No, no C-section. My mother-in-law said natural birth makes the baby smarter. The nurse pulled her hand away. The baby will suffer oxygen deprivation if we wait any longer. Sign the consent form. With a trembling hand, Evelyn signed. As they wheeled her toward the operating room, she saw Sharon Vance standing at the end of the hall, watching with cold indifference. Caleb never showed up. The sting of the epidural needle in her spine reminded her of that rainy night 6 months ago, when she discovered Caleb had gotten another woman pregnant. That child must have been born by now. A boy. The grandson Sharon had always wanted. The sensation of the scalpel cutting into her flesh was surreal. There was no pain, only the clinical feeling of cold metal moving inside her. Staring at the ceiling, Evelyn thought of Logan. If she hadn't betrayed him, he would be the one pacing anxiously outside this room, the man who had once treated her like she was the center of the universe. We have a baby, the doctor's voice broke through her daze. A faint cry, and then a nurse brought over a swaddled infant. It's a girl, 7 pounds. Evelyn managed a weak smile, but the doctor's next words froze the blood in her veins. That's odd. The parents are both type B. How is the baby type A? The room fell silent. Evelyn's eyes widened as she saw the doctor and nurses exchange a loaded glance. Maybe the test was wrong, Evelyn stammered. The doctor frowned, checking her chart. Ms. Reed, your prenatal records show you're definitely type B. He turned to a nurse. Go confirm Mr. Vance's blood type. A flash of memory, a drunken night with the family driver 6 months ago. No, it couldn't be. The operating room door burst open and Sharon stormed in, her face purple with rage. Doctor, is this bastard child she just birthed not my son's? The rain was coming down in sheets. Evelyn stumbled down the hospital corridor, dragging her freshly stitched body. Sharon had thrown all of her belongings out of the room, not even leaving her jacket. The wound in her abdomen screamed with pain, but she could no longer feel it. What hurt more was knowing that her newborn daughter had been taken by Sharon, who was already arranging for her to be given up for adoption. Lying, cheating whore. Sharon's curses followed her down the hall. Your bastard child is gone. You will never see her again. Evelyn collapsed against a wall, her legs giving out. She fumbled for her phone, the one thing Sharon hadn't thrown away. Her fingers were stiff as she dialed her mother. Mom, it's me. Evelyn's teeth chattered. The Vance. They took the baby. You have the nerve to call me. Victoria's voice was like a shard of ice. The Vance just informed me they're evicting us from the house they provided. All because you couldn't keep your legs closed and try to pass off some bastard as their grandchild. No, Mom, please let me explain. Don't you dare call me Mom. Victoria shrieked. You have disgraced the Reed family. From now on, whether you live or die is no concern of mine. The line went dead. Evelyn slid to the floor, all her tears cried out. She scrolled through her contacts, but there was no one left to call. Her friends had vanished the moment her reputation was destroyed. Finally, she dialed a number she knew by heart. As expected, it was disconnected. Logan was gone. Well, if it isn't the fallen princess. The familiar voice made Evelyn look up sharply. Caleb Vance stood over her, impeccably dressed, a mocking smile on his face. Behind him was the young nurse, Tiffany, holding a baby boy. I hear you gave birth to someone else's kid for me, Caleb said. looking down at her with contempt. Such a shame. My mother has already taken care of it. Evelyn's gaze drifted to a bench down the hall. Lying on was a fruit knife, likely left behind by a visitor. Her breathing grew shallow. Caleb was still talking. But don't you worry. My son with Tiffany here will inherit everything. As for you, he kicked lightly at her leg. Get lost before you embarrass us any further. A slow, chilling smile spread across Evelyn's face. It caught Caleb off guard. Before he could react, she snatched the knife from the bench and lunged, plunging it deep into his stomach with all the strength she possessed. "Ah!" Caleb cried out, staring down at the handle protruding from his abdomen in disbelief. Evelyn leaned in close, her voice a lover's whisper in his ear. "This is for my daughter." She ripped the blade out and stabbed him again. "This is for my family's company." Caleb crumpled to the floor, blood staining his white shirt a brilliant crimson. Tiffany screamed and ran, clutching her baby. Evelyn raised the bloody knife for a third and final strike. "And this is for me." Police sirens wailed through the hospital. Evelyn sat on a bench outside the emergency room, her hands covered in drying blood, her expression eerily calm. Nearby, Sharon Vance was wailing hysterically. Caleb's body had already been taken to the morgue. A man in a black suit quietly sat down beside her and handed her a manila envelope. "This is from Mr. Hayes." Numbly, Evelyn opened it. Inside was a collection of documents. The top sheet was a copy of Caleb and Tiffany's marriage certificate, dated from while he and Evelyn were still supposedly dating. There was also a medical report stating that Caleb had a severe fertility problem and was almost certainly sterile. "Your daughter is at the Sunbeam Children's Home," the man said in a low voice. "Mr. Hayes has made all the arrangements. She will be well taken care of." Tears finally began to fall from Evelyn's eyes. She trembled as she flipped to the last page, a photo of a newborn baby girl, sleeping peacefully. "Why?" she rasped. "Why would Logan help me?" The man didn't answer, instead nodding toward the television mounted on the ER wall. The business channel was replaying an interview with Logan. The backdrop was the beautiful building that was once meant to be their home, now converted into a state-of-the-art animal rescue shelter. "Some people treat love like a pet," the televised Logan said with a calm smile. "They think they can keep more than one at a time. But real love can't tolerate a single stray hair from someone else." Evelyn began to laugh, a broken, choked sound. The irony was devastating. She finally understood what real love was. It wasn't Caleb's false sweet talk or even Logan's past devotion. It was the primal, protective instinct she felt for her daughter. A police officer approached and placed her in handcuffs. Evelyn didn't resist. She only clutched the photo of her daughter. "My daughter. She'll be okay, right?" she asked the man in the suit. He nodded. "Mr. Hayes said this is the last thing he will ever do for either of you." Evelyn smiled, a genuine, true smile for the first time in 6 months. As the officers led her away, she glanced one last time at the television. The man who had once loved her, who she had betrayed so deeply, had become the architect of her revenge and the guardian of her child's future. From the other end of the hall, Sharon Vance let out an unearthly shriek, which dissolved into mad laughter. The cruel, conniving woman had finally been broken by her son's death. Evelyn walked calmly toward the waiting police car. The rain had stopped. Sunlight broke through the clouds, casting a pale light on her face. She took a deep breath and looked up at the sky. At least her daughter would not live a life defined by greed and betrayal. And that knowledge, even as the cold metal of the handcuffs bit into her wrists, felt like a kind of freedom.